Hey, it's Mopar Keith here today, and today I'm going to be replacing the fuel tank on this 1970 Dodge Challenger. But before I get started, I'd like to mention that I have other accounts out there in case TikTok does get canceled. So moving forward, you can find me on Instagram under Mopar Keith. You can find me on YouTube under Noel Automotive. You can find me on 2 Facebook accounts under Mopars and Muscle and Noel Automotive. So let's just see what happens and let's get started on this job. We'll go through a couple finer points on the rear valance panel. Now in 70 and 71 they have a bracket that goes in here, and then they have threaded holes here and here, like a 10 by 32 I believe is what the thread pitch is, maybe. And then up here we have actually like a coarse thread. It just goes into metal. And then on the back side, we have a nut and bolt situation. So we'll get those tore apart. Now, fun fact, when Chrysler painted these cars, they painted it with the rear valance panel loosely fitted, and they just held it on with the bolts in here. And then as the assembly line went down, the valance panel was removed and the fuel tank was installed, and then the valance panel was reinstalled. So that's one interesting fact about the e-body platform. Now, it is common that some of these bolts, see if I can find one here, hold on. All right, so this is an original one here, and this actually has yellow paint on it. So the assembly line guys would remove these bolts, and they probably just threw them in a big pile, and then when they put the car back together, they just grabbed another bolt, and it could be from a different car. So it has been documented that some of these cars had different bolts in them. That the rear valance panel is removed, I want to mention that this is a California built, or code E on the VIN tag, and Los Angeles built car. Now this car is equipped with N95. So N95 just basically means it's a NOx, or noxious gas or fume recovery system. And is what it is you have 3 lines that go to the front of the car. You've got a fuel supply line, a return line, and then a vapor line which comes off the bowl float of the carburetor. And then back here it also has a vapor, not like a charcoal canister, but it actually just goes up into the fuel neck area and tries to capture the fumes and recirculate them. So the top of the gas tank here is kind of complicated, and it makes it a little bit harder to remove, but that's what the N95 option is, and commonly found on California built cars. So we got a lot to do here, so I won't bore you with any details. Just got to get the straps done, and typically I drop this tailpipe also, drop it down so I can gain access to the fuel lines up in there. I got to take off that exhaust shield, so kind of a pain in the butt to do, but once I get it apart I'll shoot some more video. Here's one item that you definitely have to undo to make it loose so you can move it around. You've got to disconnect it from the quarter panel, otherwise I'm sure you could damage it or bend it or crack the paint, and undo the screws from the floor gasket. And then there's this emissions tube right there. That's where the vapor is supposed to kind of rise up into and capture it so it can be reused into the carburetor. So down here you can see where that fill tube goes into the grommet, and our emission lines over here, and then our pickup lines and fuel gauge wire over here. So get those all disconnected and the tank will slide out to the side. All right, well, it's about lunchtime, so I'm going to take a break from this job right now, but there's all the emission lines, the fill tube, and then over here I think I found what was leaking. The return line spigot was loose, so there's where the leak was. So we'll drain the old gas out of this, inspect it, and then definitely replace the sending unit.